Today we'll talk about the worst mistakes a lot of roamers make. Usually people upload guides on how to roam like a pro, but the thing is, sometimes it's better to know what mistakes to avoid in order for you to play effectively. After all, advanced roaming techniques and strategies can be learned through experience, but some mistakes, if not corrected, can become a habit, and once it becomes a habit, it can be difficult to get rid of. If you'd like me to upload the worst mistakes of players on the other lanes, make sure to hit like, share, and if you haven't yet, subscribe to the channel. I also uploaded a couple of videos talking about the worst mistakes of an XP laner and also the worst mistakes of a jungler. So if you haven't seen those videos yet, click the links in the description below. Clearing minion waves. That's not always a bad thing, but for a roamer, sometimes it is. If your allied lane hero is dead, instead of clearing the minions, either you leave the minions alone or even better, prevent the minions from reaching the turret by tanking them and waiting for your ally to arrive and clear the minions. Doing so will prevent them from losing experience and gold. Also, during the first 5 minutes of the game, turrets have a shield which disappears after the 5-minute mark. The shield prevents the turret from receiving damage. The only disadvantage is if an enemy hero manages to get close to the turret, they can gain a significant amount of gold, so really, the best option is to prevent the minions from getting close to your turret without killing them. Of course, this is not always possible, but whenever you can, try not to clear the minion waves. Also, some players are freezing the lane, and you clearing their minions are ruining the lane freeze they are maintaining. If you don't know what lane freezing is, I highly suggest watching this video. I'll leave the link in the description for you guys. Always visible on the minimap. This is probably the most common, and believe it or not, what's making a lot of players lose or have a hard time winning the game. As much as possible, do not show up on the minimap. Utilize the bushes, especially those located on key areas that can be used by the enemies to their advantage. Regardless whether you are on the lane babysitting a hero or roaming around the battlefield, try your best not to be seen all the time. The element of surprise is a very important thing, not just in ganking but also providing vision to your allies. Trying to remain hidden from the enemies is what makes a roamer more effective in setting up teamfights and securing zones. Incorrect build path. There are different types of roamers, and for the sake of this video, I need to make up some of the terminologies since there's no official term for them. The different types are tank roamers, pure supports, and assault roamers. Contrary to popular belief, roamers are not just limited to defensive items. It really depends on the lineup and situation. Tank roamers in most cases are ideally built with a full set of, well, tank items or defensive items, since their playstyle usually involve using themselves as walking shield for their allies, frontliners, and are expected to engage first in teamfights. Pure supports are ideally played with a full set of defensive items, but in some situations can be more effective when played with items that focus more on cooldown reduction. Pure supports have a more complex build path than tank roamers since they rely more on their skills to protect allies such as healing abilities or shields, which of course require a low cooldown in order for them to utilize their skills more frequently. Also, since pure supports are usually very squishy, you must always have defensive items. The number of your defensive items should never be less than 4. Assault roamers, in my opinion, is the most advanced roamer type and can be quite challenging for some players. Assault roamers are expected to play aggressively. They are played just like junglers, but instead of focusing on jungle camps, they focus more on ganks, vision control, and putting more pressure on the enemy team. Depending on the hero you pick, you can either build them with mostly damage items or a combination of damage items and defense. The question is, how would you know if the assault roamer you picked needs a combination of damage or defense or purely defense? Well, if the assault roamer you picked needs to remain in battle much longer than other heroes in order to be effective, then you need to build that hero with at least 3 to 5 defensive items. Some examples are Hilda, Cho, and Ruby, since they either have to stay longer in battle to be more effective by applying debuffs and gaining stacks, or stay longer in battle in order to take advantage of their control skills with very short cooldown. If the assault roamer you picked relies on taking down enemies quickly, then obviously that's when you should buy mostly damage items. Some examples are Selena and Natalia, since they are played ideally by quickly taking down enemies. Babysitting all the time. There's nothing wrong with babysitting, but it is strictly situational. In most situations, babysitting for extended periods of time is not a good idea. If you babysit your gold laner for the majority of the game, the rest of your 3 teammates are left alone to fight 4 enemies. That's a huge disadvantage. Instead, rotate from one side of the map to the other. Here's a suggestion which is applicable for most situations. At level 1, aid your jungler first in securing their buffs by harassing the enemy jungler or providing vision to your ally. As soon as you are done helping the jungler secure the purple, orange buff and delete the wanderer, that's when you should head to the gold lane and try to pressure the enemy gold laner and zone them out to lessen their gold and XP gains. Don't prolong your stay though. Remember that the turtle always first appears closer to the XP lane, so make sure to go to the turtle and make sure you arrive there a few seconds before it appears. That way you can provide vision to your allies and be able to secure and hopefully take the turtle down, which will benefit the entire team. Once done with the turtle, you can go back to the gold lane through the mid lane, then repeat the process. Some players on higher ranks, especially those part of a trio or 5-man team, prefer aggressively invading the enemy jungler with the help of their very own jungler and mid laner. That, however, requires very good teamwork and synergy, so tread lightly. Attacking the turtle and the lord. This is extremely common in the lower ranks. Remember that there are bushes around those major objectives, and your enemies can take advantage of those to steal the lord or the turtle from your team. Attacking the lord and the turtle as a roamer will not help much because of your mediocre damage output. So it's better if you remain hidden in bushes and provide vision to your allies and try your best to zone out the enemies in order to prevent them from stealing the objectives. It also helps if you get rid of their Cyclone Eye. Doing so will lessen their options in successfully stealing the objective, since some players use that in order to close the gap quickly. It also helps prevent the enemies from escaping in case your team was successful in ambushing the enemies. Bad positioning. Remember I said earlier that there are different types of roamers. This part is very easy, you just need to play more to get the hang of it. Tank roamers in most situations should be on the front lines. You should also be mindful of your carry's position. Try your best to remain in locations where enemies might come from. This is also true for assault roamers, though the only difference is assault roamers are much more aggressive than other roamer types, but in terms of positioning, they are played in an identical way with the tank roamer. Pure supports are a bit different. Most pure supps are very squishy during the early game and only improves their survivability much later in the game when they have more defensive items. This is why in the beginning of the match, most pure supports are situated much closer to their allies and not too far out in the front lines. Sometimes pure supports even need to remain behind their allies in order to provide consistent healing. This is especially true for heroes like Rafaela, Estes, and Florin. Of course, as the game progresses, as soon as you have enough defensive items, that's when your positioning slowly shifts from the back to the front lines. Not checking the minimap. And no, I'm not gonna talk about the enemy positions and all that jazz. That's already automatic, you should already know that. What I want to focus on is when roamers engage with the enemy team and waste their ultimates or die only to realize that their teammates are not there to help them. Guys, sorry to break it to you. I understand it is frustrating when teammates are too passive, but you can't put all the blame on your teammates since you too are at fault. In addition to checking the minimap, what I usually do when playing in a solo queue is I send a signal or a voice command before engaging with enemies. Make sure to check first if you even have allies around you or if you are on the same page before using your ultimate. There you go, those are some of the worst mistakes I frequently see from roamers, some of which I myself committed in the past. Did I miss anything? Leave your thoughts in the comment section below, and if you haven't yet, don't forget to hit like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Stay safe everyone. Peace.